Welcome to the Way to Go podcast. Bill McMinn, along with my dear wife, Jeri, finally talked her into...
Finally.
Yeah, she's in Grandmaville, actually. So it's always being a grandma and watching Zeke. And Zeke is here in the building, actually.
Yes, Zeke is in the building.
Zeke is in the building, right. And we have to get these shows done right on time because he's going to be hungry by the end of this. So all the things we have to think about.
He rules the roost at this point.
He does. Yeah. He does, actually. And when he's hungry, he gets like hangry.
Yeah.
He's the happiest little kid until he gets hungry. Mm-hmm. If he gets hungry,
like us. Yeah.
Yeah, on a fast day. Like, I'm hungry right now because this is a fast day during Lent. And actually, one of the things in Lent I wanted to talk about was Peter in his last hours with Jesus Christ, because this guy was so brash. Like, Peter made amazing statements. Mm-hmm. I'll go to the death with you, Jesus. And Jesus says, you'll deny me three times before the rooster crows once, buddy. Mm-hmm. Don't even tell me about how much you're going to do. And actually, we find it in Luke 23, 31 through 34. Simon, Satan has asked to sift all of you as wheat. So Satan's after you, man. You need to be paying attention. But I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned back, strengthen your brother. So he knows he's going to deny him. He knows he's going to have turning back to Jesus. He replies, Lord, I'm ready to go with you to prison and to death. And Jesus answered, I tell you, Peter, before the rooster crows a day, you will deny me 3 times that you even know me.
Yeah.
You don't even know me. That's what you're going to say.
It is. I mean, it's one of those things where you, in the moment, you think that you're going to be stronger than you really are.
Right.
And I think it's amazing that, Jesus is praying for Peter. He knows he's going to be facing this. And Peter's like, I got this.
Right.
I'll be just fine.
Right. I can handle it.
Right.
He's got everything. He's got walking on the water now because Jesus Christ, he's out walking on the water. Can I come? Yeah. So he books out there in the water and he starts looking at the waves sink. So Jesus Christ has to grab hold of him.
Yeah.
But he was the one guy. Like, he's the guy. If anyone was going to jump out of the boat, he's impetuous.
Yep.
Anyone jumping out of the boat is going to be Peter. Anyone saying anything brash is going to be Peter. Like, I would love to meet this guy, actually. Because he
will someday.
He'd be quite the character. But sometimes we have to be open to the fact that we're going to get tested, that things do come up, that maybe we're not as strong as we think we are, that we need more of a God reliance instead of just like, oh, yeah, I can handle that. No problem. Because saying it and doing it are two different things. Like saying, I'll go to prison, I'll die for you. Then when push comes to shove and people are accusing him of being one of Christ's disciples and he's busy denying it, even calling curses down on himself, he was so adamant that I don't even know that guy. I don't even know Jesus. That's a lot different guy from the guy talking.
Right. And I mean, when you're in the situation where now you're fearing for your own life, are they going to now take me and also try to convict me?
Right.
Is a fearful thing. And depending on our own strength, is not always a good thing.
Right. And what you say and what you do are sometimes two different things. So you got to watch what you're going to say. I think sometimes with him, what my lesson would be from Peter is don't be so overconfident.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we're so overconfident in our own strength, we think that we can handle it. Maybe we're going to, because he's going to be falling asleep in the Garden of Gethsemane. And we've got this thought that I can handle it on my own. When in reality, we can't handle everything in our own. We do need the strength of God.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Bible stresses over and over again, that we need to tap into that power of the Holy Spirit will strengthen us.
Right.
Give us the courage to withstand things that on our own we really can't.
Right. Well, how about all the people that will say, oh, that was me. If I was in that situation, I would, that guy blew it. I wouldn't have blown. I mean, if I was in that situation, I would have sunk the 3-pointer. Yeah. I would have had the courage. I would have stood up. I wouldn't have behaved myself in that way. I mean, even these people that Jesus Christ was talking to, they would say, oh, if we had been there in the days of the prophets, we wouldn't have persecuted them.
Right.
We wouldn't have killed them like that. Meanwhile, they're putting Jesus on a cross. Yeah. They're as bad as anyone was. See, what you say and what you do sometimes are two different things. Watch what you say.
I think that even, people on the internet will put things on Facebook, I'll do this or that. But if they were face to face with that person, they would be it would be a whole different story. Right. And I think it's the same thing. You can be real tough when you're just talking about it. Right. But when push comes to shove, we're not as strong as we think we are sometimes.
Right. Yeah, because we can be braggadocious when we're not in the battle. Yeah, there's one thing like I don't have any fears. I'm not scared. I don't have any anxiety or anything like that. We're not even in a scary time. Yeah, the sun is shining. The water's smooth. There's nothing to even alarm us. So like I said, don't be overconfident. Make sure that you're actually praying about things. And also, I think that you have to count the cost. Before you just say what you can handle, you got to think it through a little bit and say, well, what is that going to look like actually? You know, if I was ever in that situation, what would it look like? I try not to go through life overconfident. I try not to think, hey, you know, it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter, like I can do anything or say anything or be. No, it does matter. You can't be overconfident.
Yeah, definitely. You have to think about, like you say, count the cost even ahead of time. Be prepared in your thinking. If I'm in this kind of a situation, how would I handle it?
Right.
You know, and then it helps you know what you need to rely on the Lord, you know, in situations like that.
How about this lesson? We don't spout off.
That's a really good one. Yeah.
Right. Like maybe he just shouldn't have said it. Maybe he shouldn't have been running his mouth at all and putting himself out there. I think some of the times, I've thought this many times in my life, I'd rather do it than say it.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people they'll say what to do, not do anything. I'd rather not tell you what I'm going to do and just show you what I'm going to do. Well, it's better to do it than to say it.
I think, too, in this situation where the Lord is telling him, I'm praying for you. Satan wants to sift you like wheat. You know what I mean? You're going to deny me. And Peter's not even listening to the Lord. He's like, he's so confident in his own strength that he's not even listening to the wisdom that Christ is offering him at that moment.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. I think sometimes when people are talking to us, like we're not listening, when they're trying to give us warning or encouraging, like we've got the volume turned way, way, way down.
Yeah, because we know better.
Yeah. Well, he must not have been thinking about what Christ has said when he was busy denying Christ. He did it 3 times. You would think after the first, like, whoops. Didn't Jesus Christ just say that? It's almost like it's not even registering.
I think that the fear, or probably the adrenaline of fear, is what's ruling his thinking at that moment. It's self-preservation.
Right.
He's not even thinking about the consequence of his actions or how he's going to feel later. And I think sometimes, you know, we're in situations where, you know, at the heat of a moment, you might say something and then you regret it. It's like, why'd I say that? And I got to go apologize because I shouldn't have said it. You know what I mean? But at the moment, it felt really good. You know?
I forgive you. Don't worry about it. No, watch what you say. Count the cost. Pray about things. I think that we should be praying for wisdom anyway. So we're fasting on wisdom, right? So, you know, I'm praying for wisdom. And it's actually our fast day is about that today. So we do need it. So I would say don't be overconfident. I'd also say this, be cautious and don't overreact. Now, when they're in the garden, Peter is pretty bold. Like he said, I'll go to jail with you. I will go to prison. I'll die with you. Right. In the garden, it seems like he's there because in 49 through 51, when Jesus' followers saw what was going to happen, they said, Lord, should we strike with our swords? And one of them struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his right ear. Now, this is Peter who does this, right? But Jesus answered, no more of this. And he touched the man's ear and healed him. That's always an amazing part of the story, right?
It's really cool. And I wonder, too, like we were talking earlier, like, why did they even have swords? What was the whole reason that they had swords? And I thought, you know, maybe Jesus wanted the opportunity to show that even in the face of turmoil and the fact that they're going to arrest him, he's still showing love and care for the people that are coming after him.
Right.
You know,
well,
and healing the guy's
maybe
ear.
you put a sword in their hand to show them, even with a sword, guys, you ain't that tough.
Yeah.
So sometimes God might put a sword in our hand to show us, even with that, you still need me. You're not that tough. Yeah. But no, he goes and he lops off an ear. I think that maybe he should have been thinking about this. Like I was wondering too, when he hit him in the ear, was he that bad of an aim? You know what I'm saying? Did the guy duck? You know, because I would think if you're like swinging at somebody's head, that's a miss. Like I would count this. That's not really a bullseye.
It's me and the axe throwing. Yeah.
Oh, well, nobody knows about your axe throwing, Jeri. So
it's really bad. Right.
There were 6 other people there, and Jeri thinks the world knows. No,
I don't care.
You don't care. You can't throw an axe. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying my aim was probably just as bad as Peter's. Maybe worse. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you could, you were terrible at it. You know, you would probably be like Peter. He's a fisherman swinging a sword. He's got no business.
Pretty much.
He probably didn't even have any business with a sword anyway. But I always thought it was kind of funny. Like he makes this big swing at the guy and hits his ear. Like I said, I mean, he did get an ear out of it, but I would think that was a miss, dude. Like that's just all you do is make that guy mad. If he's tough at all, and the high priest isn't there. Like the high priest is hiding. This is the servant of the high priest coming. So that the priest guys, the official guys, they aren't even there. They're letting these guys do the work. So the servant, like I was wondering, well, why did you take a swing at that guy? Well, maybe the servant of the high priest is the guy who was lead of the party.
Yeah, he might have been the closest one to him.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying maybe he's the spokesperson for the group. He's going as the official person, so that's why Peter's taking a swing at him. So Jesus Christ stops all that stuff. But I think sometimes we do react out of emotion. We do take a swing at people. Maybe we should be thinking about this first.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to win this. Like, he could have killed that guy straight out.
Right.
You're not going to win this day. I mean, there got multiple people with clubs and swords. You got 2 swords. Like, you're way outnumbered. Yeah. You're way outpowered. You think you're going to do something. And even Peter wanted to get in the way all the way along. He didn't want Jesus Christ dying. All the way along, he's kind of getting in the way of the whole thing. So
he
right now
understand.
he's stepping again.
Yeah. I think, in this whole situation, Peter, even though Christ told them he was going to die, he forewarned them all these things, they still, again, really weren't seeing the truth of what he was saying.
Right.
And now he thinks he can prevent them from taking Christ. And it's like, this is the ultimate prophetic thing that's going to happen to, rescue all of us.
Maybe sometimes we do have that tendency to underestimate the things that are coming at us too. Like they said, hey, we have 2 swords. Jesus said, is that enough? Not even close to enough.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, if you really want to physically fight, if Christ could have called a legion of angels anyway and protected himself, I mean, he could have gotten out of it. He was going to the cross on purpose. He willingly laid down his life.
Right.
2 swords, and you think that's really enough? These guys, for real, have no idea what's coming down this pike. Like when this big entourage of people show up with the clubs and the swords, I'm sure that they're not really thinking it was ever going to be anything that heavy duty. When Christ is there at that trial, when ultimately he goes to the cross, I'm sure that they could not conceive of that all the way to the resurrection. I just don't think that these guys at all see how big this really is.
Yeah, they didn't really have any clue what they were going to encounter, or ultimately, what was going to be the final impact.
Right. But do you think there are sometimes, like, we underestimate storms in our lives? Like, we underestimate what's going to happen. In other words, we think, it's kind of be a small thing. I think even the start of the Civil War, they thought that. Initially, in the first battle, it's a small thing. It's going to be over fast. Not having any idea. There's going to be nearly 500,000 people killed in this, and it's going to be devastating. The war and the implications and all of that. I think sometimes we just don't realize how big the storm is. Maybe at home we don't realize how big the storm is. At work, maybe there's a storm coming. People are talking to us. We kind of blowing it off. We're not really taking it that seriously. Maybe we hear rumbles of layoffs or something like that. I think that we have a huge tendency to undersell trajectory and where we're really headed.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, for sure.
Right. But for sure, don't react emotionally. Like that is one thing that I would take from here. Yeah. When a lot of times I see this all the time, and you see it in social media with, like you were saying, the social justice warriors. I'm behind right now, I've got my keyboard in front of me. I don't see anyone real around me. I'm being big and I'm being tough and I'm emotionally responding to something that bothers me. A lot of times those are regrettable things, because then you're, like you said, you're apologizing to somebody. You're like, I really shouldn't have said that, but you're caught up in the moment. So I would say don't react emotionally. I just saw a video of a guy, and they're like, watch this. And so I did. I'm saying, well, you watch this. I did watch it. And there's this guy, and this truck just keeps messing with this little car that keeps trying to get around with them. So apparently little guys made the truck guy mad, because the truck guy it's a 2-lane interstate or highway going the same way. And so he keeps trying to get around this guy. And the guy in the truck just keeps speeding up, so whatever he needs to do to make sure the guy can't pass him. The guy finally gets mad enough. He goes around the right of everyone. Now he's in the berm. He comes through and tries to shoot the gap. So the truck speeds up, and now he's even with the guy. This guy tries to run between the truck and the other vehicle. Hits all of them, ends up flipping his car like up on its nose end, totally wrecking his car. And I'm thinking, emotions.
Yeah.
You're emotionally.
You didn't get there any faster.
You've lost it. Like you've completely lost it at this point. You're emotionally reacting. You're taking out your sword. You're taking a swing at somebody. it's emotion. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. And I think too many times I see decisions even made, it could be marriages, jobs, anything. They're made emotionally.
Yeah.
They're not sometimes made logically. Like, I'm really going to think through this.
Right.
Like, where's this head at this trajectory, this rhetoric? Like, where am I heading and my behaviors? Let me think through this logically and not just emotionally.
Right. Absolutely. Right? I mean, where's the self-control? Like even with Peter, in the situation where he's denying Christ, just take a breath. Right. Think about, what I mean? He'd been better just to say nothing, right. Ignore them rather than get caught up in it because, now you have this for the rest of your days, probably you think about that you did
Well, I mean, he forever's pegged as denying Christ. That's for sure.
Right.
But so I'm going to go to jail and die with you, guy. I cut off the ear of the high priest servant guy.
I don't know him.
is now this guy. So in verse 60, Peter replied, man, I don't know what you're talking about. Just as he was speaking, the rooster crowed. That was the third time he denies Christ. And the Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. This is one of those accounts where it's really...
It just had to make him feel sick at his stomach.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Well, the whole trial, I mean, the whole culture, like our trials would go on inside a courthouse, not any open air type of things. Remember when we were in Ecuador, it was more of an open air. Like the church has never had windows.
Yeah,
ever.
It's just open.
It was open.
No
so
glass.
there were big tarantulas crawling around on the walls. I remember that. Like, I couldn't speak the language of the film they were showing, but I could watch that tarantula. Like, where is that spider going? Because they could just come right through. There were no real like windows in this place. So I look at this kind of setting where more open, obviously, they could hear and be aware of what was going on, the trials going on. And it would be interesting to think of what Peter could hear of Christ. Aren't you going to say anything in this whole thing of Christ going back and forth and getting punched? And then finally he says, you'll see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of, right?
Yep.
And, they're tearing their clothes. Like, how much of this is Peter really involved in being able to hear? But anyway, they were definitely within eyeshot of each other, because when Jesus tells him, you're going to deny me 3 times. Now, he does it the third time, the rooster crows, and the Lord turned and looked straight at Peter.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's terrible.
What did I tell you?
Yep.
Didn't I just tell you this? Didn't I tell you were going to do this? Didn't I tell you? He had told him in the Garden of Gethsemane, pray that you fall not into temptation. He goes to Peter directly. Peter, could you not even pray 1 hour? Could you not watch with me for 1 hour? Went directly and called Peter by name, knowing. And now, as soon as he does it, Christ is aware of all the stuff going on. He's getting mocked, and he's in this faux trial garbage that's going on where they're going to send him to the cross ultimately. And he's still aware enough, like he knows Peter just denied him. So you wonder, could Christ hear that? Could Christ hear his buddy out in the garden? I don't know that guy. I've never seen him before. Jesus is looking at him.
Yep. Or did he just know?
He knew.
He knew it was going to happen. I think in this whole situation too, we just need to be sure that we're always in prayer.
Right.
Always in prayer that, God will give us strength, that God will protect us, that God will give us the words to say or the tenacity to stand up when we need to, because we don't know.
Right.
Like Peter in the garden, Jesus is telling him, you need to pray, but he really didn't know what he was going to face.
Right.
Jesus knew what he was going to face and knew that he needed that extra measure of strength. But Peter just thought, I'll be fine. I got it, because he was clueless as to what was in front of him. And we don't know, what situations we're going to face down the road.
So be
prepared.
Right. Be prepared. But I think, obviously, we're talking and we're going to say this, look, don't be overconfident.
Oh yeah.
Make sure, don't overreact, be cautious, but also be consistent. If Peter's consistent with what he believes, if Peter's consistent with his own words, he says, yeah, I know him.
Yep.
I absolutely know him. I'll stand with him right now. I'll die with him right now. You can put me on a cross right now. Now, that's obviously not what Christ wanted to happen to Peter, because Peter needed to be a witness. He needed to be helping to plant churches and to be an evangelist. God did not want Peter dying right then, but Peter still could have been consistent. And I think sometimes that is the biggest danger, is we're not being consistent with what we say we believe. Yeah. Oh, I'm church Sunday. Woo, yeah. You know what I mean? I believe. We get out there on a work day, living like a devil, swearing like everybody else, going out drinking and doing all this stuff. Where's the consistency?
Right.
Wait. I was just there saying I love Jesus the day before. Now I'm acting like I hate everyone around me. Where's the consistency?
Right. Yeah. We need to be standing for truth no matter what situation we're in.
Right.
Doing what's right.
And if you say you love someone, you should act like it.
Yeah.
If you say you love Jesus, act like it. You say you love your family, act like it. You say you love your friends, act like it.
Yep.
Don't be saying you love someone and then in your actions be denying it. I mean, the inconsistency here to me is telling. I can't be saying something and doing something else. And this is an area where I would say perhaps for growth for Peter, perhaps for growth for any of us, we've got to be consistent because we don't want to deny Christ. Yep. And we could deny Christ by the way that we live. We could deny Christ and act like we don't know him, out there. Well, I don't want anyone to think I'm a Christian or I'm one of those Jesus freak people, right? Why not? It would have been better for Peter just to own up to it and say, no, I know him. And the irony is, which I think this is kind of funny actually, and we'll close with this, was the guy's ear that he lopped off. One of the high priest's servants, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, challenged him. Didn't I see you in the garden?
Yeah.
Not me. That crazy guy swinging a sword? I'm pretty sure I saw you. He was there. The guy was there in the garden, saw the whole thing happen. He goes, no. I saw you there.
Yeah.
And even with that, there's still nothing but denial from him.
Still denied it.
Yeah. So be consistent, right? Be cautious. Don't be overconfident. And then we won't fall into these traps that Peter fell into. We hope that you all have a great and a blessed week. Thanks for tuning in. We super appreciate it.